Ben Rortvedt had done difficult things in his baseball career. He had fought through injuries that would have ended lesser careers. He had sat on benches when he deserved to be starting. He had signed contracts, broken down film, worked through slumps in silence, and carried himself with the kind of quiet professionalism that earns respect in clubhouses even when it never makes headlines. He thought he knew how to handle big moments. He was wrong. Because nothing, not a single moment in his entire professional life, had prepared Ben Rortvedt for what happened the instant he stepped inside Dodger Stadium on the day of his introductory press conference. Before the podium. Before the cameras. Before a single question was asked or a single answer was given. Something happened in that hallway that stopped him completely. And according to multiple sources present that afternoon, the man responsible for stopping him was Shohei Ohtani. To truly understand the significance of what took place that day, you have to first understand what a 4-year contract with the Los Angeles Dodgers actually means. It is not simply a financial agreement. It is not simply a roster decision made in a front office somewhere between spreadsheets and scouting reports. A 4-year contract with the Dodgers is a statement of belief. It is the organization saying, in the clearest possible terms, that they see something in you, not just for this season, not just for a playoff run, but for years. For a sustained, meaningful contribution to one of the most celebrated franchises in the history of professional baseball. For Ben Rortvedt, that contract was the culmination of everything. It has been reported that Rortvedt arrived at Dodger Stadium that morning carrying the composed, focused energy of a man who had prepared thoroughly for what was ahead. Those who accompanied him described him as settled. Grounded. Ready. He had thought through what he wanted to say. He had considered how he wanted to present himself. He understood the significance of the moment and he intended to meet it with the professionalism that had defined his entire career. What he had not prepared for was Shohei Ohtani standing in that hallway, waiting specifically for him. According to multiple sources with direct knowledge of the events of that afternoon, Ohtani's presence in that part of the facility at that particular moment was entirely deliberate. He was not passing through. He was not coincidentally nearby. According to those familiar with Ohtani's habits and his approach to welcoming new teammates, he had made a specific, conscious decision to be there, not for the press conference, not for any organizational obligation, but purely and simply to greet Ben Rortvedt before the noise began. Before the cameras and the reporters and the official proceedings transformed the moment into something public and performative. Ohtani wanted to see him first. Person to person. Teammate to teammate. It has been reported that when Rortvedt turned the corner and found Ohtani standing there, he stopped walking. Completely. According to eyewitnesses, there was a moment, brief but unmistakable, where Rortvedt simply could not move. Because this was not what he had expected. Not here. Not now. Not before any of it had even officially begun. Ohtani, according to those present, moved toward him without hesitation. He did not wait for Rortvedt to recover his composure or close the distance between them. He walked forward, extended both hands, and then, in a moment that everyone in that hallway would later describe as completely unexpected, he spoke. Not loudly. Not for the room. But directly to Rortvedt. Quietly. Personally. And according to multiple sources who witnessed what happened next, Ben Rortvedt's eyes filled with tears. The precise words Ohtani used in that private exchange have not been confirmed publicly. Rortvedt has not disclosed them in any formal setting. And according to people close to the situation, he is unlikely to, because what was said in that hallway belongs to the moment itself, not to the media cycle that surrounds it. But according to multiple sources familiar with both men and the context of their relationship, the power of what Ohtani said had nothing to do with grand statements or carefully crafted language. It was specific. It was personal. And it was delivered with a sincerity that, according to those present, was impossible to mistake for anything other than genuine feeling. It has been reported that Ohtani spoke directly to Rortvedt's journey. Not in the vague, congratulatory way that fills press conference transcripts and post-game interviews. but with real awareness, an acknowledgement of what Rortvedt had been through, what he had overcome, and what this particular moment genuinely cost him to reach. For a player who had spent significant portions of his career fighting for recognition, fighting through injuries, fighting for roster spots, fighting to prove that his value extended beyond what statistics alone could capture, being seen in that way by Shohei Ohtani, in that hallway, on that specific afternoon, was reportedly more than he could absorb without breaking. According to those present, Rortvedt is not a man who shows emotion easily. He is known within baseball as composed, internally driven, and deeply private about the things that matter most to him. Which is precisely why what happened in that hallway struck everyone who witnessed it so deeply. This was not performance. This was not the kind of staged emotion that occasionally surfaces at press conferences when players say the right things in the right order. This was real. Unscripted. Involuntary. The kind of reaction that only happens when someone reaches through all your defenses and touches something true. And Shohei Ohtani had done exactly that before Ben Rortvedt had even reached the podium. According to multiple sources who were inside Dodger Stadium that afternoon, the energy in the facility shifted the moment people began to realize what they had just witnessed. There was no awkwardness. No one made the moment larger than it needed to be. According to those present, the people in that hallway responded with the kind of quiet, instinctive respect that only appears in environments where genuine human feeling is valued over optics and appearances. Several people reportedly looked away, not out of discomfort, but out of recognition. Because what they were seeing was private even though it was happening in front of them. And in a world where almost everything that occurs inside a professional sports facility is eventually packaged and distributed for public consumption, a moment of genuine private emotion is something that people instinctively want to protect. Ohtani, according to multiple sources, did not step back or allow distance to grow between them. He stayed present. Steady. Calm in the way that people who are truly comfortable with emotion, their own and others, always are. He did not rush the moment forward. He did not deflect into humor or physicality the way athletes sometimes do when feelings become visible. He simply stayed there with Rortvedt until the moment had passed naturally. And according to those who witnessed it, that stillness, that complete, unhurried willingness to simply be present in a difficult moment, said more about Shohei Ohtani than any interview or highlight reel ever has. When Ben Rortvedt finally stood at the podium inside Dodger Stadium and faced the assembled reporters, he was composed. Professional. Measured. He delivered the kind of introductory press conference that organizations hope for: thoughtful answers, genuine enthusiasm, clear articulation of his goals and his gratitude. But according to multiple sources who had seen what happened before those cameras turned on, everything Rortvedt said at that podium carried a different weight than it otherwise would have. Because he was not simply a new player introducing himself to a new city. He was a man who had already, within the first 30 minutes of setting foot inside this building, experienced something that told him everything he needed to know about where he had landed. It has been reported that when Ohtani's name came up during the press conference, and it came up quickly, as it always does in any conversation about the Dodgers, Rortvedt paused before answering. Not long. Not dramatically. But long enough for those who knew what had transpired in that hallway to understand the full meaning of that pause. He chose his words carefully. According to those present, there was a warmth in how he spoke that went beyond the standard praise a new player offers a famous teammate. It was personal. Grounded in something real that had already happened between them. The story of Ben Rortvedt's arrival at Dodger Stadium will be remembered by those who witnessed it long after the press conference footage has been archived and forgotten. Not because of the contract. Not because of the questions and answers exchanged under the lights. But because of what happened in a hallway before any of it began. Because of a man who did not have to be there, who had no obligation to show up early and wait, who could have sent a text or offered a handshake later in the week, and who instead chose to be present, deliberately and personally, for a teammate who needed to feel welcomed before he needed to feel impressive. According to multiple sources within the Dodgers organization, this is not an isolated story. This is a pattern. This is who Shohei Ohtani is every single day inside that building, not the version that the world sees in highlight packages and sponsorship campaigns, but the version his teammates experience in the quiet, unrecorded moments that actually define a clubhouse. He notices people. He remembers things. He shows up, not when it is convenient, not when cameras are present, but when it genuinely matters to someone else. Rortvedt signed a 4-year contract with the Los Angeles Dodgers. But according to those who were present that afternoon, the moment he truly became a Dodger had nothing to do with a signature on a page. It happened in a hallway. In 30 seconds of quiet words. At the hands of a teammate who had made sure, without anyone asking him to, that Rortvedt would never feel like a stranger inside that building. Not on his first day. Not ever.